Greetings, my people. It's Mr. PDT and Dr. Brilliant, yet again on another episode of the Enlightenment series. You see, Dr. Brilliant was bending here. He came across a clip of one of the opposition parties in Zimbabwe, who's probably the P0.l of Zimbabweans. And when I say P0.l of Zimbabweans, is one of the candidates that the youth are rallying for or are rallying behind, the youth are in support of. But there are some things, some remarks that he gave in his recent press conference, and those remarks did not really quite sit well with Dr. Brilliant here, and they also did not sit well with me, and I don't think they can sit well with any African, or neither will they sit well with any Zimbabwean youth. So before we get into the conversation, and we are going to look into African politics in general, and we felt that it's about time that we also start focusing on real matters, real issues that affect us as Africans. Of course, we talk about charlatans most of the time. Religion is one of the biggest threats to our civilization. But beyond religion, we have politics. And politics, which is the area or the domain where our bread is buttered. Right now, as we speak, there are some people that are having meetings, serious meetings about our future. There are some decisions that are being made right now in our absentia, decisions that likely benefit those ones that are in the big rooms or in those big and high tables that we are not aware of. So I believe it's about time that we get involved, and we should get involved as African youth in matters that have to do with how the state, how our nations are governed politically. So before we get into it, before we talk much about it, my people, let me know where you are watching me from. Let me know where you can let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Let me know if the visuals are clear enough. We have Erisha here. Erisha here is saying, without doubt, Chamisa is the brand like Coca-Cola, and competing with idiot who has never won any elections in an easy battle. Okay, I do not know what really is it. Okay, we'll look into what Erisha said. And then we have Leon Droski from Botswana here. We have Karen Kasunta from Zambia. Monica Susan, good evening, brothers. Thank you for bringing fresh stuff again. Let's talk. Love you guys. We love you too, Monica. We have Christina from California. I see you, Christina. We have Sisa Kelef in South Africa. I see you, Sisa Kele. Botswana is in the house. We have Kenelo Grace. I see you. We have Jackson all the way from Zambia. Marufu is watching us from Zimbabwe. Mashingo. Mishek Pepper watching us from Zimbabwe. That's wonderful that we have Zimbabweans in the house, and I'll be looking forward to have some Zimbabweans contribute to this conversation, because it's important that we engage in these matters that have to do with how our nations are run. You must always remember that the future belongs to us, my people. We are the future leaders of our nations. Whatever that is happening today, if we do not become active participants in how things are run, they say politics is a dirty game, but my people, you can't eat without politics. The air that you're breathing right now is controlled by politicians. The food that you're eating today is controlled by politicians. The income that you are making today is controlled by politicians. So everything is basically in the hands of politicians. So we really have to become part of the decision-making process in our countries. We have Nelson Munyaka. I know we have so many we have so many Zimbabweans in the house today, because we will be discussing partially the issue of Chamisa that will bring to your attention, and we will be also be looking into the current state of affairs in Niger. Is it Niger or is Niger? but pronunciation differs depending on where you are coming from. You know, we Zimbabweans, we can call it anything. You know, our pronunciation, it mixes up anything. It doesn't really matter as long as you get the message. So let me know, my people. Yes, let's talk about politics. Alo Davis, Chikumbi, Zambia. Brian Chikwembe watching you from Zambia. I'm also young PDT from Zambia. We love you, Mr. PDT. Pull the trigger. Forever, Brian. We'll keep on pulling the trigger. We're Friday Chilanga here watching us from Kaduma, Zimbabwe. Yeah, that's about it. We have Pop Lena watching us from Botswana. Yes, my people, that's about it. Let's get into it. And you must know that, you know, African youth, we must rise. It's about time we rise as the young people of our nations. We have to start representing Africa. We have been taken for a ride for a very long time by the West. And I'm not really much of a big fan of the West. You know, I'm anti anything that has to do with the West because these Westerners, they've never meant any good for an African person. They've never meant any good for us. It's either they are coming to take, and leave us in dire conditions. Whenever a Westerner does anything good for you, you must know that there are going to be consequences and you will pay the price later. So they barely do anything for free. So, my people, it's about time we take the stand as Afrikaners and lead our nation, our continent forward. Dr. Brilliant, I welcome you to this episode, to this particular episode of the Enlightenment series. I know you're very much excited about it. I know you're pumped up about it. And you are very much involved in politics, and you've always wanted to have your ideas spread across in as far as political issues are concerned. I greet you, and how are you today?
I'm very good. And I guess today's episode, I can start by saying revolutionary greetings because today, today we're talking politics. I know these are the two things that are key in most of the things that we do. We speak about religion, we speak about politics. And for any emancipation of the mind and any empowering that needs to be of the African mind, we cannot ignore politics as much as we cannot ignore religion. And so we find ourselves today just moving south of Zambia to another part which was once a big state, which also included Zambia, because this is southern Rhodesia and Zambia was northern Rhodesia and Nyasaland. So this was one country at one big time. And so we are one people. In essence, we are one people. So we've just shifted, just crossed the Zambezi into Zimbabwe. I know yesterday we were speaking predominantly to the Zambian masses and on a religious aspect, and we're focusing on that unwise man that is just visiting their nation there. But today, I want us to look at one of those perennial opposition leaders that has been fighting for change, or so-called.
Okay, Dr. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Sorry to interject before you get into the subject matter of the conversation. Maybe I want you to emphasize on the importance. First, I want you to emphasize on the importance of having youth involved in politics. Is it something that is of paramount importance that young people start engaging in politics, or we should just leave it to the old folks to lead us?
It is critical. We cannot stress this any more than we are doing now. We cannot stress this enough. It is critical and it is vital for the youth to be involved in the decision making, and the decisions are made predominantly through the politics that plays out day by day. These are things that would affect our today, and they are things that will affect our tomorrow. So the youth of Africa need to be very much participatory in the politics of whatever country you are in right now. You need to involve yourself in the politics, understand the political dynamics around you, understand the history that feeds your current and present circumstances today. Because sometimes when we try and get into this without the context of history, we don't get the full understanding of what it is that makes us who we are now and the direction in which we need to be going ahead. So we need that context. And the youth cannot be left out on this. We cannot leave the decision-making to be in the hands of those that are just about to exit this earth. So if you are choosing to let the old Madalas decide your tomorrow, I mean, they probably have a good 10, 15 years to go, and they're out of this whole thing, out of the picture completely. And you at 21 have a whole 40 years ahead of you. And so if you don't participate in deciding and shaping what happens in your next 10 years and in your next 20 years, then there's a big problem there.
You see, in the political arena, personally, I draw my inspiration from one revolutionary here in South Africa called Julius Malema. He's one leader that has inspired, that has made young people, develop this interest or affinity to have their involvement in matters that have to do with politics. Recently, he filled up a stadium, with this revolutionary party, EFF. Allow me to just play a short snippet, because most of the time when I look at this guy, I just feel inspired that this brother of ours, Julius, he has really stood up for the black people. He has really stood up for the Africans at large, and he has inspired so many youth out there to be conscious of the politics and the running of their nations and their countries. Let me just play I think it's a 2-minute video of his previous event that attracted, masses in South Africa, youth in South Africa, something that has never been done, or maybe that has been done once in a while in the nation of South Africa. So here's the video.
Once you guys get tired, once you guys become lazy, once you become reluctant to fight, you must know the enemy has won. I will never get tired. No one can make me tired. I march forward to the victory of our people. The revolution in South Africa is guaranteed that under the EFF, this country will be the better. Stand up, South Africa. Make sure that South Africa, you are counted with me. Right, South Africa. Stand and make sure that our people understand that they need to be counted. You must be counted. You must be part of history. You must make sure that you are one of the people who are going to deliver economic freedom in our lifetime. Freedom in our lifetime.
Yes, indeed, this was quite a show. And whenever I see young people gathering to demand for their rights and to discuss issues that has to do with Africa moving forward as a continent, I would also hope we can have, opposition parties in all African nations that challenge the current systems. Unfortunately for Zimbabweans, they prayed for an opposition leader like Julius Malema, and the prayer was answered to the South Africans. And Chamisa was the one who was given as a replacement or a substitute, because I lack inspiration in leaders like, of course, I understand how sensitive the issue of Zimbabwe is, It's more or less the same situation in Nigeria. The youth wanted Peter Obi. The youth rooted for Peter Obi simply because they were sick and tired of the administrations of their current leaders. Now in Zimbabwe also, the youth are tired. In Zimbabwe also, we have the masses that are suffering. The masses are going through the most. And when things like this are happening and when the economy is crumbling, we all focus on the politicians. We all look at the leadership. And if the leadership is failing to rectify the errors, then there's nothing else that people can call for other than replacement of those leaders or a reshuffle or maybe electing a different administration. But the question is, do we have the proper leader that can take this battle forward, that has the best interests for Zimbabweans? Because looking at the opposition parties that we have in Zimbabwe, they do not really strike me as they do not really have those qualities of leadership, or they are not really revolutionaries that are willing to fight and protect the best interest of Africa at large. Because I'm not just looking at Zimbabwe. It looks like the opposition leader that we have is more or less of a puppet to the West. Everything that he is bringing forth for Zimbabweans is just meant to satisfy whatever the desires of his handlers determine. Before Dr. Brilliant comes to the podium, or before Dr. Brilliant engages, I want to play a very short snippet again. Should I play it first, or you want to get in first and then I play it?
Let's put this into context first. Let's put this into context, because you just played there a video of Julius Malema. I believe that was at the celebration, when they're celebrating 10 years of their existence as an opposition political party in South Africa. And bear in mind that South Africa has many other political parties, and Julius Malema's EFF is not the main opposition in South Africa, because we have the DA. The DA is the second largest party. But what I like about Julius Malema, and if you listen to what you are saying there, that we should never get tired. So in 10 years, what Julius and his party, the EFF, have achieved, they have achieved and managed to attract international recognition. In Africa especially, people find and draw inspiration from the leadership style that Julius has, that revolutionary attitude, the attitude to push for an agenda and have a very clear and laid out strategy as to what it is that they want to achieve. Their manifesto is very clear, and a lot of people that are Africans wish they had somebody like Malema in their country. If every African nation had a Malema, we would be somewhere way different as Africa, and our power plays, our political game would be much better, because we have people that are focused and are talking sense and fighting and standing for the people, not because they want gain from the West, not because they want favors from the West, but because they want to improve the lives of their people. Now, this is where I contrast this and put what I'm trying to say here across. We have perennial people that have been in opposition that have been used as puppets by the West. Unfortunately, in Kenya, we have one leader that has been known as the opposition leader forever, Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga has failed to gain power or to win power for several reasons. People would say it's tribal, it's this, it's that. But there are some people that become opposition leaders and fail to inspire a whole nation. We have the same in Zimbabwe with this one Nelson Chamisa. A lot of people are saying, oh yeah, we need him because of his youth. But that's where the danger is. Let's not just look at somebody and say, okay, because they are youthful, we should vote for them because of that. Let's look at what it is that they are putting on the table and what they are saying. What is their manifesto? What is their vision? What is their structure as a party? Unfortunately, I'm from Zimbabwe and I'm not inspired by Chamisa. Not that I like the situation that is in Zimbabwe. Economically, we are not where we're supposed to be. But there are other factors that influence the situation that is in Zimbabwe, because the situation of Zimbabwe is unique to Zimbabwe at this present moment. Because, like I said, South Africa has multiple parties, and they are not under any economic sanctions. Zimbabwe, on the other hand, has economic sanctions, and there is where what makes the difference. Because right now, those that are in Zimbabwe would be saying we are fighting for our sovereignty and we want to have a free and fair election. Everybody wants peace. But what are the factors that contribute to the suffering of the people in Zimbabwe? Sanctions play a very big role. And once we take away the issue of sanctions and that part which is trying to be an external factor that controls us, then we understand. This is why I said, let's understand our history, what has influenced us to become and be who we are today and where we are. And we map the way forward from here, knowing our yesterday, understanding our today, and preparing for our tomorrow. How do we do that? What is the best way forward? What political party would protect our sovereignty and give us the independence and freedoms that we need? And in my view, right now, as we speak, I don't think that is going to come from Nelson Chamisa. Yes, youth is on his side, but ideas and ideology is not. And so there we have a big deficit, because unlike Malema, who has a clear ideology of what he wants to do with South Africa, should he be in power, Chamisa, I think, on that aspect is a flip-flopper, and he's not clear. There's no strategy that he has apart from being ambiguous, apart from being a person that is going to say a lot of things and then come back and eat his own words. So yeah, maybe the one thing that triggered me was a recent statement that he made, where he actually states that sanctions in Zimbabwe are necessary. That line where he says sanctions in Zimbabwe are necessary, and that he can then pick up the phone if he wins, he'll pick up the phone the next day and call Biden and say, it's done, the deal is done, let's fix the country. So how do we then say it is Biden that's going to come and fix our country because Chamisa has called him? Why can't we do that as Zimbabweans ourselves? Because then once Biden fixes us, that means he now controls us. So our sovereignty is at stake when we have people that can make such random statements, such ludicrous statements that don't really make sense. This is not the first time that Chamisa has done this. The first time he said this, I thought, oh, well, you know what? It's just the heat of the moment. He was excited. Remember the speech that he made, that patakasangana na Trump, takamuti akanditi vakomana mpadiwa mari tikati 15 billion. Basically what he said there, to those that don't understand, Shona, is he went and he met with Trump, and Trump asked him, how much money do you need to make Zimbabwe work again? And he said 15 billion. And he said, as soon as you get into power, I'll sort that out for you. It turned out that when they then quizzed him on the BBC about that, he had never met Trump, and all these things were just empty promises that he was making. He's a very excitable guy when it comes to meeting with Westerners. He almost looks like he's out of his depth. He gets starstruck, but he's not the type of leader like Malema that can stand up and tell the white men that we're equal. He still sees himself as somebody that is inferior to a white person, and that it is only the white person, with the white person's help, that Zimbabwe can be fixed. But that's where I disagree with him. That's where I say, if it comes to a choice right now, the choice that I have is to either vote for E.D. Mnangagwa, a Zimbabwean, or Biden, who is represented by Chamisa at the moment. Who do I want? I want sovereignty for my country. Yes, I would choose the devil I know, who is ED. And that way, it's easier for us to retain sovereignty and not be controlled by the Americans, as we would see if Chamisa would come in. Because he's clearly stated that. I think we should play that video because it gives context. Because I sent you the video that got me all irritated today, and hence my request to speak about this.
Okay, one thing I know for sure is this episode is going to be sounding like it's offensive to these, to the nation, to the nations of, to the masses of in Zimbabwe, because it will sound as if we are undermining the struggles and the struggle that Zimbabweans have gone through. But so that we can have this conversation in context, I'm going to play the short snippet of the video that Dr. Brilliant is referring to, so that we can all be on the same page. This is what Chamisa said.
Sanctions are essential. The problem is leadership. Once we tick the boxes of leadership, sanctions will go away. The next morning, I'm going to lift my phone and say, Mr. Biden, we've done the deal. Let's fix the country. Let's do business. Investors from America will come here. Because we've done our bit of the bargain, we are able to have a leadership deficit resolution. That is what must be done to resolve issues. But it's still because we've done our bit.
You see, according to Chamisa, it seems like sanctions are working in his favor. And one thing for sure, sanctions were imposed on Zimbabwe so that they can frustrate the citizens of Zimbabwe, just so Zimbabwean youth and the Zimbabweans at large can turn against the ruling government that was there during the time of Morgan Tsvangirai. And sanctions have really gone a long way in making the lives of Zimbabweans very, very tough. And they seem to be aiding the propaganda of the opposition parties. Now I do not understand why it's difficult for Chamisa to call Biden now, or even before the elections. Talk with Biden. Listen, the sanctions were supposed to help us. We are the beneficiaries of the sanctions, but the sanctions are not doing good for the Zimbabwean youth. The sanctions are not doing good for the Zimbabweans. Can't you lift them up now at this moment, and then we devise another way to get in power without making Zimbabweans suffer? They cannot weaponize sanctions. Chamisa's approach to gaining power by using sanctions as his aid, at the same time making is the right approach. I do not know if the Zimbabweans are already angry or they are shaking the network here, but be that as it may, my point still stands. Chamisa, if he really had the best interest of Zimbabweans, he could have made these calls. If he has Biden's call, he could have just called Biden. Biden, my brother, listen, let's be on the table. Let's resolve this matter. Zimbabweans don't deserve to suffer for me to be in power. So which means he does not really have a card to play to Zimbabweans, or he does not really have a strategy for Zimbabweans that can convince Zimbabweans to vote for him, other than him becoming the messiah that will come and resolve the current, crisis that in Zimbabwe.
Let me come in on that one. You see, what he lacks, or if you have the historical context of how things work and sanctions and people being put on certain lists by the Americans, it's not one call to the American president that will just remove Zimbabwe off the sanctions list like that. There's a whole Congress, there's a whole set of things that go through in America for that to be overturned. If I try and put this into context, Nelson Mandela was listed as a terrorist by the Americans, and it took a long process to remove Nelson Mandela from that list as terrorist. Even when he was president, he was still on the list as a terrorist. So this thing that Chamisa thinks he just can pick up the phone tomorrow and talk to Biden and say, oh yeah, deal is done, remove the sanctions, and then the next day the sanctions are gone and then we are just back to normal, everything is back to normal. It's not going to happen like that. And the very fact, as you rightly put it, that he has used this to try and manipulate the system to his favor and have the people on his side. What he did not bank on is he did not bank on the current status quo in Zimbabwe, putting together their own propaganda to propagate their position and to expose what the opposition had done. And so the people in Zimbabwe, the debate has been going on for a long time. Is Zimbabwe under sanctions or not? We used to hear these people saying Zimbabwe is not under sanctions. These are targeted sanctions. But sanctions are sanctions, targeted or not. We are suffering because of the sanctions. There are certain things that even I, who's not on the list of sanctions in Zimbabwe, cannot do. If I go into Zimbabwe right now with my business cards from the bank, and I want to purchase or make purchases in Zimbabwe using British business cards, I can't do that. I have to put it in my personal account because there's no business that I am allowed to be doing with Zimbabwe. So there are certain things like simple things like people trying to buy something online. They can't do that because Amazon is not listing anything and selling things through Zimbabwe because of those sanctions. So there are so many things that might look minuscule and small, but they are part of that sanctions package. This is what we're suffering from. And this is what people need to understand, that as long as Chamisa is talking like this, as long as Chamisa is talking about his ability to pick up the phone, he is exposing himself as one of those people that has necessitated and prolonged this whole sanctions issue. And because of that, Zimbabweans at large are suffering. Zimbabwe as a country is suffering. The individuals that are supposedly targeted by these sanctions are the ones that are living large in Zimbabwe. If these sanctions are targeted at ED and his children, how come they have all the luxuries and the ones that are not targeted are living in squalor? So this whole thing needs to be looked at again. The lack of strategy in Chamisa's camp, the lack of foresight, the lack of feel for the people, the fact that he wants people to suffer so that they become angry and turn against the government. That strategy is a very silly strategy in my view.
Listen, I understand the comments and the frustration of people that are coming through. And people are not really in support of ZANU-PF. Neither are they in support of...
This is what I'm saying. People are not in support of ZANU-PF. But even if I was to be given a choice now, who do I choose? One that wants to give the country away and say we'll call Biden and Biden will tell us what to do. No.
So the question is, the people are asking questions here. That should we continue voting ZANU-PF forever?
We have no options. We have no options. Right now, tell me, even this campaign that has been, it has been so half-hearted. I mean, everything is in their favor. It's just lack of strategy on the part of Chamisa. This is why I said we pray for someone like Malema, someone that can advocate and push and encourage us to want change. Not this person that is going to be quoting scriptures and telling us that God is in it, but not coming up with a strategy. You see, the thing is, how do we get rid of this ZANU-PF? They are continuously going to be telling us right now that the election was rigged, this. So we already know, we're disheartened right now that the fight against ZANU-PF is the same results and the same story that we're going to get. So on the 24th or the 26th of this month, the very Chamisa that had all these people and all these guys from Pachedu and all the other people that were saying we've discovered how ZANU-PF rigs the elections, we've done this. They had 4 years to sort this out when they were in parliament and while we're in the run-up for this election. Now we're 15 days away from an election. They still haven't come up with any suitable strategy. The thing now is we already know they are writing a script of how this election was rigged, because the same people that we're trying to remove from power will retain power. This is not a prophecy. It's simply on the ground for everybody to see. Any political analyst can see this. The guy that we are thinking has no vote or no support, ED, is more organized and has got a better structure and better strategy right now. Chamisa cannot bank on the anger of Zimbabweans. And he is talking to the wrong crowd, by the way, because when you go on these Twitter things and you go on these Facebook channels, you are not speaking to the people on the ground, the ones that really vote. You are speaking to us that are outside Zimbabwe, that share the frustration, that share that anger against the current regime, but we are not voting. We are going to be speaking, and that's what the problem is.
I'm going. Listen, I want us to have a dialogue here. There are so many people that are manifesting in the comment section. Of course, their points are valid. You know, people have suffered in Zimbabwe. Things are not okay. Things are so bad. We cannot hide behind a finger and talk or act as if things are normal. But the question is, what can be the resolution? What can be the way forward? Can Chamisa be the answer? So what I'm going to do right now, I've put up my WhatsApp calling in number there. If you feel like you have something to add on to this conversation before we jump. No, they will not call now. They will not
Yeah,
call
let's
now.
not.
I just want to stress something.
Yeah,
So to those that feel like they have something to add on, that's my number on WhatsApp. You can call in and we can hear your own side of the story or how you may analyze it from your own perspective so that you just don't end your anger in the comment section. Because it's easy to just be a keyboard warrior and type all the justifications or whatever that you may feel like is proper. But that's why it's a discussion so that we can enlighten each other. We can open our
let's
others to different schools of thought.
let's try and put this into a broader context and view, and talk about what's happening further up in the African continent. We spoke earlier about Niger, right? You raised the issue of Niger. So, whereas we would say sanctions are not necessary in Zimbabwe, I would say the coup in Niger was necessary.
Okay, some people might not know what's happening in Niger. Just break it down. Okay, should I
Right.
break
So
it down?
Niger had a coup, just recently had a coup. And if you think about the situation that was in Niger, France controls everything. This is why I say I take exception when I hear a leader like Chamisa speaking about picking up the phone and talking to Biden and sorting out the country. This is what the people in Niger are trying to move away from. They're trying to break away from their former colonial masters, France. Can you imagine, or can you even believe that Niger was one of 8? There were 16 at some point, but they continued to fall away. That countries that were using, African countries that are using the CFA franc. The CFA franc is money that was the French franc. The French don't even use that money anymore. They are now using the euro. But these African countries, they're still right now 6 countries that are still using the franc. Cameroon, Central African Republic, Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, and Chad. Those countries are still using the franc. Now, when they use the franc, it means this is French money that the French print, that the French have control of, and they get these countries to use that currency. It's an agreement that they have because they are former colonies. So this money is controlled by France. Now, Niger had exports uranium. And for their uranium exports, they sell this or price this in francs, and then they do all their business. The French tax the Niger government or the Niger authorities there 50% of whatever it is that they are making. So this neocolonialism is still in existence by extension of the monies that these guys are using in that that country. Now, this is what they're trying to pull away from. And now there's 6 countries remaining. There were 8, now there are 6. And now the French were threatening to go and bomb Niger so that their former president, the one that has been dislodged by coup, they want him back. Why do they want him back? Because he is a puppet. He is one that allows them to continue to do these things. So when we say we don't want puppet governments in Africa, my problem or my worry is that a man like Chamisa is very susceptible to becoming a puppet because of his utterances that we are hearing. He's very susceptible. He's very unlike Malema. Malema is talking about strangling white monopoly capital. Chamisa, on the other hand, is trying to invite into Zimbabwe white monopoly capital because he thinks the whites are the ones that can revive Zimbabwe's economy and not any other. So this is where we need to put this into context, that while the rest of Africa is fighting to remove this, we have somebody that is willing to invite the same things that everybody else is trying to get away from Africa. Is there any reason or doubt as to why Malema has never really thought of Chamisa as a comrade? Because ideologically they are so different. They are so different. I know and I believe that Chamisa would want to be Malema's friend, but because of the ideological differences that they have, Malema would rather stand with those that are perceived right now as being corrupt and suppressing Zimbabweans, because ideologically they are the same, because they have a common enemy, which is the West. Whereas this guy is trying to invite the West to come in. So this is the problem. This is where our problem is going to be. And this is why the regional support for Chamisa is never going to amount to anything.
Okay, let me take a quick call. Yes, caller, you can go ahead.
Good day, Profex and Dr. Brilliant.
Good day
Hello
to
there.
you.
I would like to just remind us of this scripture as you were on that discussion, that a kingdom that is divided against itself cannot stand. And that is more like Africa. There's been so much division in Africa that we have like a memorandum in the Bible that says a kingdom that is divided against itself cannot stand. And look at us, like someone from Zimbabwe, and like would feel very much distant by someone in South Africa. Back in the days, in the time of the struggles, Sarafina, people like Queen Latifah, like all those kind of histories. But today we are self-centered. Like we only think, or we don't think it as in a broad way, as in we are Africans, but we look at it as if I'm Shona, I'm Venda, I'm instead of having one voice.
True.
No, thank you so much.
Okay,
True,
let me
man.
take another one. Let me take another one. Yes, caller, you can go ahead.
Yeah, hey, my friend, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good, my man. Yeah, I've been following all of your videos, all of your everything you do, ne? But there is this video you posted last with this guy, your friend. I don't know your collaboration, your friend. You remember that guy? And you see, all of what he's talking about, ne? About Chamisa, you know. These guys, even here in South Africa, I'm in South Africa, my friend, ne? All of the infrastructure development is done by these European guys. These European guys, they're not that bad, my friend, as far as I'm concerned. Because the thing is with Africa is like they should have to do a dialogue with African people. Like, actually now these people, they know, or these people, they are doing this and this and this. You understand? So Chamisa is not bad about this issue. Yeah, because South Africa now, every country is in South Africa, Nigerians, Zimbabweans, Mozambicans, or you know why? Because there is European people there. Yeah.
So what are you saying, my brother? What's your contribution to
my
the matter?
My point is, this guy, your friend, what he's talking about is discouraging people from Zimbabwe from voting Chamisa. Because what we know is not like in Zimbabwe right now, the situation is like this just because of the situation. The situation is because of these people who are looting. Because African leaders, they are looting minerals. After that, they blame they start blaming sanctions ahead of on. So this guy, he must not supposed to do that because he's discouraging those people who want to vote for the change, you know. Because now look, we have Zambia now. We've got opposition right now. The opposition candidate just went on in Zambia right now, and after then, now things in Zambia have changed. Even the currency in Zambia have changed. Is ahead of South African currency right now. Last when I checked it, it was ahead of South African currency now. But why? Because of and after Malema was in power, he was we saw him collaborating with the European countries. But now the economy is fine. So what this guy is talking about, you should have to not discourage people from voting for Chamisa, because Chamisa is going to change everything. Yeah, that's my contribution, my friend.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Brilliant, people are not really on your side today.
No,
they are saying that you are pushing a propaganda for Chamisa. Considering the situation in Zimbabwe,
this is exactly
they don't think that this is the right time to be supporting Emerson Mnangagwa.
No. The truth should always be told. This is what democracy is about. What I'm telling them here is that the options that are in Zimbabwe are two options. The status quo continues the way that it is. or Chamisa comes in. But the trouble that is in Zimbabwe right now is the issue that of sanctions. This gentleman that just spoke just now said that they are looting resources and all that. Corruption and looting of resources across Africa has always been there. In Nigeria, they will tell you the same thing. Oil and all the resources are looted, and there are all sorts of corrupt activities that happen. But Nigeria is not under sanctions. What makes Zimbabwe unique at this stage is this thing that they placed that is called sanctions. Now, that thing is supposed to work for the opposition, but it's not, because the government, the status quo that is there, has managed to package this to the people of Zimbabwe on the ground, that the suffering that you are going through is because of sanctions. And these sanctions were called for by the likes of Chamisa. That is the propaganda that is in Zimbabwe. That is what needs to be. These guys have now got free reign and free will to loot whichever way they want, because they are always going to blame the suffering of Zimbabweans on sanctions. And the more these sanctions remain in Zimbabwe, the less likely chances that any opposition would lead. They can't bring forth the argument that there's looting, there's corruption, because you always come back and say it is because of the sanctions that people are suffering. But remove the sanctions and don't give these people the cover. That's what I'm arguing.
Okay, Kola, you can go ahead with your contribution now.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Wonderful. And yourself?
I'm good. Look, my man, I'm really interested in this dialogue. I don't just want to add more things, but what I say is, what if we all Africans united, regardless of where you're coming from? But if you are an African, in order to conquer all the problems that we have within our community, why don't we educating one another?
Okay, I don't know what happened to this brother's call. Could I have dropped it by mistake or what? I don't know. Let me just try it. Oh, no, it's not the one. I'm calling the wrong guy. I don't know. Maybe I touched the drop button by mistake.
Yeah, but
he
seemed to have been coming with some very sensible contribution there. So you see.
Okay, listen, I just want to make one point clear here. I want to conscientize the people that are listening to this conversation. Okay, brother. Okay, just hold on for a minute. I'll put you through.
Yes.
Okay, we have Trimo here who is saying, Profex, you will lose followers because of this episode in which Brilliant is discouraging votes. Trimo, I think you're following me for the first time. But let me bring this back to your attention. The reason why I'm here is not because I'm gunning for followers. I'm not here because I'm in desperation of popularity. No. If you can read the bottom of this screen, it is written, uncovering the truth, empowering African minds. If you have chosen to remain with the little knowledge that you have and not allow anyone to challenge it, to challenge your norms, your beliefs, or whatever traditions that you have come to make yourself feel good in, here is not the right platform for you. I always say, never even think or don't even follow me if you're not yet ready for your mind to be stretched. If you're not willing to act outside of your comfort zone, this could be a wrong platform for you. I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to open a discussion, a dialogue with different schools of thought. And whenever you feel like the kitchen is getting hot, there's no wrong time or there's no bad time for you to leave. The same way you came here should be the same way you leave without announcing. The moment you hit the unfollow button or the block button, I will not even know that you unfollowed me. I will not even know that you blocked me. But the Enlightenment series will continue. Those who have ideas that they want to add to this conversation will come with an open spirit, with an open mind. What I say or what Dr. Brilliant say is not the thing that everyone should walk away with. You are free to come in and join the conversation and share your own ideas. Never try to threaten me with unfollowing me. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is setting Africans' mindsets free. If I don't agree with Chamisa, it does not make me an enemy to the public. If I disagree with Emerson Mnangagwa, it does not make me an enemy to the public. I've been disagreeing with your spiritual fathers, with your DDGOs, and I have so many enemies that don't like me because I don't like false prophets. That has not stopped me from talking about false prophets. So whenever you feel the need for you to walk, hey, hamba I'm not here to make you happy or to soothe your emotions or your feelings. So just know this before you type nonsense here, or try to think that the things that I say here, they are meant to make you feel excited or make you love me or hate me more. No, I say my mind, I speak my mind, the things I see, the things I observe. Whenever they don't sit well with you, go where you will hear things that will tickle the ears of yours. So before we continue and take this caller, let me allow the caller to go ahead. Yes, caller, you can
You're
go
right,
ahead.
Tig. You're right, Tig.
Yes, my brother.
Yes, my brother, go ahead.
I know that actually boiling. You know, the thing is about us as Africans, we should be educating one another and encourage one another. For instance, you see, we are towards the votes, and we have these leaders try to convince people because they want to buy votes. You know, you can buy votes in different ways. You can buy votes with different things. Even to say something, you know, I don't know how can I say it, but the good thing is, as Africans, let's encourage one another, working together, unite as Africans. We don't want anybody to come and rule us. We are Africans. Even they say we are young people. We are the future leader. So we should have to learn from these elderly. Like I quote when you use that brilliant try to bring the views about Nelson Chamisa, right? You also wanted to be the leader of the country. But in which way that he wanted to be the leader of our country? By mixing all the citizens so that they can fight against one another, you know? So we don't need to fight with one another. We need to be calm. We need to be well educated, whereby we build the nation at our own resources, at our own ideology, regardless of whom. But we don't want it, the Americans to involved. For instance, the House of Commons, you will find that they have the meeting and discuss about our country. That's not what we need for other people to discuss about our country, especially European countries, to discuss about the matters in our country. We are the people who got the problem within our community, and we are the people who should have to sit down and talk and solve our problems.
No, you are spot on, my brother. It was the question that thank you, my brother, for the call. Something that I always want to make our African youth think about is our future. We do not have to be reliant, on the Western aid or on the Western support, because whenever these people come in the picture, they have a bigger goal. They're looking at the bigger picture than what you'll be looking at. Zambia is doing good right now. It's doing so well. We do not know what's happening behind the scenes, because the moment you get in bed with the West, those people, they just don't come and invest in your country without them benefiting or eating the bigger piece of the cake. The currency of Zambia might be doing well as we speak. When I say these things, I'm not supporting ED. I'm not who I'm going to vote for. No one knows. But I know what might be good for my country. I know what might be the best candidate to lead the Zimbabwean nation. But I always say, when you look at the aid, when you look at your association with America or with the West, these people, they have the law, they play for the long term, they play the long game. The resources that will be depleted in their involvement, maybe let's say in Zambia, because Zambians are enjoying the current state of the economy today, but have the Zambian youth looked beyond 20 years from now? Have they looked beyond 30 years from now? What would be the current state of their mineral resources? Because look at South Africa right now. I can tell you one thing for sure. South Africa is going down this drain because of how much minerals have been taken out of South Africa. And South Africa is good, is developed, but the future of the youth might be at risk. That's why we have the likes of Malema coming in now to step in to say, how can we safeguard our mineral resources? How can we protect our mineral reservoirs? How can we try to have good deals, even with the West? We're not saying don't work with the West. How can we structure good deals that benefit Africa, not deals that lead Africans into losing much as they are losing? Let me take one more caller. Hello, caller.
Say, how are you?
I greet you, brother.
Hello, Mr.
Hello.
Prophet. How are you?
Wonderful. And yourself?
I'm very fine. Say, I'm following your program. It's very much interesting. I think the point that has been given by Mr. Brilliant, I think it's superb.
You think it's what?
It's superb.
Oh, okay. Support your answer.
That's a very good analysis.
Oh,
that's a very good analysis. You know what, Prof X?
Uh-huh.
I don't like the ruling party in Zimbabwe, but in terms of ideology, I think they are better than Chamisa, because if Chamisa invites these Westerners, the issue of neocolonialism will start creeping in once more, because we need a united Africa so that we harness our resources and then we export to them as finished products. That's the only way African continent can develop.
True.
Yes, so we need the beneficiation. These people, they are milking us. If you look at the concept of the World Bank and the IMF, look at their interest rates to Africans, and you look at their interest rates to Europeans and America. And then we say we want those people back, and no, profits, no.
You don't want the Westerners back.
I don't want to see them. I don't even want to see them. Even though I prefer Chamisa to Mnangagwa, but in terms of ideology, I think Chamisa on that one needed to be scored.
He needs some education.
I think he needs some education. But Mr. Prophet, just look at how Africa has been milked in terms of resources by these European countries. Look at what France is doing now.
It's bad.
And then
the rate at which these European countries and Westerners have been taking resources from our motherland, it's bad. And you can't aggregate the numbers, because our African people, they've been made not to see the bigger picture or to understand the things that are happening behind the scenes.
Exactly.
But we're losing a big deal.
I like what Mr. Brilliant has said. Mr. Brilliant has opened our eyes. I know now I like Chamisa. I want to tell you the truth. I like Chamisa, but now in terms of ideology, I just need a change. But in terms of ideology, I think Mr. Brilliant is talking sense. This is a very good and critical analysis.
Exactly. You know what, my brother? I don't want to sound as if I'm undermining, the current situation of Zimbabweans. But the only thing that Zimbabweans need is change. They just want change. They just want something that can, a breath of fresh air, a new leadership. But the question is Chamisa that change that they want? That is the conversation.
But Prof X, even if we love someone, we should not be blindfolded. We should open our minds and be able to accept positive criticism and constructive criticism.
Right.
Chamisa is not a god. He's not a god. He's human like me, like you, and he's prone to make some mistakes. But the moment he's going to invite these Westerners, I think I will hate him more than anybody else.
But
let's make a united Africa. That's why I like Malema more than Chamisa, because of ideology.
That's exactly what Chamisa said, that the moment he gets in power, he's going to call Biden and tell Biden that we have secured the deal. Now you can start coming and investing or whatsoever. That's his entire plan.
And you know what, Prof? They won't be coming to invest. They will be coming to loot.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
This is something very interesting. You said something very interesting, my brother. I didn't get your name, but you said something about beneficiation and us benefiting from our resources. So here's the thing. Here's the thing that a lot of Zimbabweans may know or may not know. I don't know, but I suspect a lot of us might not know this. Zimbabwe has just discovered tons and tons of uranium, of lithium reserves. So the lithium that we have in Zimbabwe, we have tons of lithium, and the oxide levels of our lithium is quite high. In fact, it's higher than that of lithium found in the DRC. And at this critical juncture where we are, lithium is going to become one of the biggest things to move the world forward, given that we are going electrical on a lot of things. We are going electrical cars. There's need for all these mobile phones have these devices that would need lithium batteries. Now, if, for example, we had people like the likes of Chamisa coming in now, instead of talking about they'll pick up the phone and talk to Biden, if they were selling to Zimbabweans right now that we will stop all exports of lithium and we will invite these countries like Japan, like America, like England, to come and set up factories here to create batteries, lithium batteries. And the only thing that will go out of Zimbabwe is the lithium battery, not lithium oxide or the ore. And that way now we are beneficiating. People will benefit from that. When they create structure within their own political parties or opposition parties, that comes and presents itself as a ready government in waiting. Right now, we are 14 days, maybe less, away from an election. If I ask you as a supporter of CCC, that which is this government in waiting, do you know anyone that is going to be in this government? So if there's a shadow government in waiting, do we know who it is? We just know right now, Nelson Chamisa, Gifto Stalos, and Fadzai Mahere. These are the three people running the show. The rest of who then comes in as Shadow Minister of Health, who comes in as this, right now we're supposed to be looking at them and seeing that when they, on the 26th or the 30th of this month, when a new government is set, this one is going to be the Minister of Health. This one is going to be the Minister. We don't even know that at this moment. So for me, it's a half-hearted approach towards the election that they already know they are not winning this one. They are writing scripts as to how it was rigged. Because there's no government in waiting. We've not been told who it is. So this is my frustration. I would have wanted to see a change, but there is no hope here. We need to be honest and open our eyes.
That's very true. It's very, very true. It's only that in Prof X, people just want a change. Mm-hmm. But now it might appear as if we might go to the West change.
Mm-hmm. But the question that someone is asking... Okay, go ahead, brother.
Well, I'm saying there's a probability that we might be heading to the West change. Well, the moment is going to invite these Westerners to come here, it basically means that there's going to be colonization once more. Mm-hmm. So please, I don't know how best people can try to educate Chamisa so that he try to move away from these Westerners. I think look at the wind that is blowing across Africa right now. People have realized that no, these people have been looting our resources. Why is Chamisa so blind to identify what is happening in Africa? Anyway, thank you very much, Prof X. My name is Joshua Risnamodzi. I'm going to be calling you every time we have this program. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Joshua. Have a
nice
good one.
Mr. Risnamodzi.
Thank you.
Okay, let me take another caller. Yes, caller, you can go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. You have 2 minutes. You have called in, so I'm giving you 2 minutes.
All right, thanks, Prof X.
Yeah.
I want to ask...
Yeah, you can go ahead.
He's muted his volume.
I can't hear you, brother. Hello? I can't hear this one. Okay, so we have Erisha here. He's saying, do you expect Chamisa to expose his strategy in a banana republic like Zimbabwe with captured courts?
Let me answer. Can I answer that?
Yeah, you should. You can.
Right. So when you talk of strategy, in any case, so I don't know what it is that they are saying. It doesn't have to expose the strategy. What are we voting for? Because when you have a manifesto should be made public. Your team should be made public. You can't just come and expect us to say we'll just vote, because don't try and run this thing banking it on the anger that people have. People might be angry with the situation in Zimbabwe, but it does not guarantee you a vote, Mr. Chamisa. You have to still campaign and set forth what your vision and your agenda is, what your ideology is. You can't just say, "Oh, we are going to come up with a strategy of ambiguity. We're not going to let anyone know. We're not going to reveal our card." For crying out loud, we are 2 weeks away from an election. We still don't know who we are voting for, apart from that there's Chamisa and CCC. This Chamisa Chete Chete thing is very narrow in ideology, very narrow in scope of what it is planning to do in Zimbabwe. What we are now gleaning from this is these little conversations that we are picking up on him saying you're going to pick up the phone and talk to Biden. That surely cannot be a strategy. That in itself is something that endangers him with the current situation and Zimbabwean government, because it's treason to actually say sanctions are necessary at this stage. Those are the things that he's not supposed to be saying. Let him say things that will encourage us to vote, rather than things that make us doubt whether he is independent of thought and is not a puppet of the West. This is the thing. We had hope in this, but now that hope is fast evaporating, because even the ones that were around him, the BTs, the Welshmen, all those people that were once upon a time the strong guys within the MDC, he's pushed them away. He's muted all these people. Where is Luke Tamborinyoka? Where is Tendai BT in all this? They've been pushed to the sidelines. And now he's coming up with these young people that were youth leaders in SRCs at university, playing university politics, in trying to run a country with university politics. It doesn't work. We want more mature people that reason things out, not these people that just rush things. This very woman that everybody is clapping hands for, Fadzai Maere, if it was not because of her beauty, we probably would not be paying any attention. But where was she last election? She was actually running against and having her own party and running as an independent person, criticizing Chamisa to the core. And all of a sudden, she's parachuted in. She's now running front and center. She's the one controlling most of the things that are happening in CCC. So when we point out things like this, we are then told with Trimazanu. But you don't want this. This is the one person in Zimbabwe that has supporters that would fiercely defend him as those that defend their papas in the spiritual churches. This is the person. We can criticize Mnangagwa and call him names and make fun of him. Nobody cares. People laugh and think it's humorous. Try and touch Chamisa or even advise him wisely, and you are labeled a CIO agent, opponent of change. You don't like development. You're given all sorts of names.
Let me tell you something. When it comes to Zimbabweans in general, never be worried about their sentiments. These are people that follow Makandiwa, man. These are people that will fight for Makandiwa. These are people that will defend Magaya with their lives. These are people that will defend native doctors and babalaos in Zimbabwe. So when you talk about issues, political issues, expect nothing less. When you touch Chamisa, they do not want their hypotheses questioned. They do not want their norms or their beliefs questioned. What they have believed, they have believed. They are not open to critical thinking. They are not open to dialogues of this nature, where we can have constructive criticism, where we can actually be pointing out issues that are of importance to an open discussion. They just want to be in a corner and believe everything that they have been made to believe. So we are here, my brother. We have a thicker skin. We talk it as it is, without fear, without compromise, without worrying about who's going to follow or unfollow. The movement goes forward.
I will put this forward once again.
Hold on, brother. Hold on. I'll put you through.
I'll put this forward once again. This election in Zimbabwe, the coming election in Zimbabwe, is a foregone conclusion. It's a foregone conclusion. In as much as we would not want Mnangagwa to win, he has played his cards right. He has generated enough support on the ground to defeat Chamisa. The people that are of Chamisa's CCC are loud, and they have channels like, they are a very loud minority right now. This is the sad reality and sad truth. Mnangagwa has managed to organize people from grassroots level and organize to win this particular election. He has called in the people that would influence that vote in Zimbabwe. The whole thing that he has done, Prophets for ED, he knows that those people have following. Going to Mapostori for ED, he knows those people have following. And the trouble is, our people are so religious that when a religious leader, the Mapostori leader, says that we saw it in the spirit that this one is the one winning, they will vote in blocks following what their spiritual leader has said. This is something that the people in ZANU-PF have studied and know. And so when they say they secured 5 million votes, they are on the way to doing that. So apart from that, I then think that the way that this has been packaged, the way Chamisa's team has packaged their campaign, the things that they are talking about don't resonate with the person that is on the ground. For example, if you go to Mutoko and tell the people in Mutoko that you are going to build an airport, the majority of those people in that part of the country in Mutoko, I'm not saying this in a disrespectful way, but the majority of those that are there have never even been near an airport. They don't even know how airports run. They don't know what you're talking about. If you go to Mzarabani, where Makandiwa comes from, that place is so underdeveloped. And you start talking about spaghetti junctions there, that we're going to create spaghetti junctions and we're going to create bullet trains. The thing that they've caught there is they perhaps have caught one word, bullet, because they know that the bullet is something that's shot from a gun. To conceptualize a bullet and a train and a train and a bullet, they can't picture what you're talking about. And you speak about spaghetti junctions. Those people in Mzarabani do not even know spaghetti as a food. They don't know it. What more now when you talk about spaghetti junctions? The road that they know is the one that goes to Mukumbura border. And that's the main tarred road. Every other road is a road that is a dust road coming to join the main road. So what they know is they know a T junction. These guys don't even know an intersection. We have people in Mount Darwin celebrating that there's a traffic light that has been put there. You see, you have to package this message to the people that would vote for you so that they understand what it is that you're talking about. Chamisa has been talking to Westerners. Chamisa has been talking to people that are outside Zimbabwe. They will rally for him. They will tweet for him. They will retweet his tweets. They will say all sorts of things, and they'll follow him on Twitter and on his social media handles. But that's not the vote that is going to come out of Zimbabwe. So that way, Chamisa remains the perennial Raila Odinga of Zimbabwe. He remains what's the other guy? Peter Obi of Nigeria. He's going to be opposition that almost made a lot of noise, complains that it was rigged. And that's going to be a story that continues unless and until we change the way we do politics in Zimbabwe.
Yes, caller, you can go ahead.
Hello, how are you?
Wonderful. You can go ahead with your contribution.
Oh, okay. I was just following your program, and it's a bit interesting. So it's only that it's unfortunate that I don't follow it every time. I don't know whether the notifications are not coming to me, but I followed your streaming.
Oh, wonderful.
There's something which is happening here, but this guy is still talking.
No one is talking. You can go ahead to talk.
The thing is with the people like the thing is that we have information like this, the channels like this one. It's like
My brother, what's happening with your line? Can you reconnect and call back? Hello, caller, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, I want to ask you one question from Rastane.
I can't hear you. Please make sure you are not speaking close to your mouthpiece.
All right. I want to ask you one question from the other guy.
Go ahead.
All right. I heard him saying a lot of things about Chamisa. So I want to ask him more. Have you ever seen Chamisa right now doing rallies in the rural areas?
Yes, I have.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I said, Have you ever watched Chamisa's rallies in the rural areas, right? Like in Mutare, because now, as far as I'm concerned about the opposition party, now, before they were campaigning in the towns, now, as far as I'm concerned, they are campaigning either in the rural areas. Have you ever watched Chamisa's rallies in the rural areas?
Yeah, go ahead and make your point, brother.
Is that a question that I need to respond to now?
No, don't respond to it now. Let him finish.
Blaming opposition party, because now these guys, they are improved. Before they were campaigning in the towns, né? But now he's going there in the rural areas, and you can see the massive people going to the rallies, né? On their own, né? And ED, the one he's talking about, people, we have seen people being given chicken slice and drinks for what, and some food and some buses, you know.
Right.
Okay, so what's your point, my brother?
Those things, because it's one-sided thing.
Let me help you.
My point is,
okay, thank you. I do not understand. Quite understand.
Let me help
was
you.
saying,
Let
have
me
you
help
seen
you.
the rallies of Chamisa of late?
Let me help him. He's talking about Chamisa having rallies in the rural areas. I would have wanted him to give me an example of one such rally. He said Mutare. Mutare is not a rural area. The rally that Chamisa had in Mutare was not in the rural area. If he's talking about the things that happened in Gokwe, I would say, okay, I saw that. We have seen some rallies that are in the rural area, but the numbers that he's talking about, of course, are not huge numbers to a point of saying there's a sweeping change coming into the country. You can then say Mnangagwa is busing people and is buying them bread, and is buying them chicken slice and things like that. Those are the things that would win this election. Unfortunately, that's the sad reality, that the people in Zimbabwe understand politics differently from what those in the West do. Those in the West, we have the leaders debating policy, debating ideology. That's what people then say, I like his stance on this, I like his stance on that. Whereas the people in our part of the world, particularly in Zimbabwe, it's not about ideology or strategy or whatever. It's about what you promise and give to the people. The people can be given right now, the people in Zimbabwe can be given bread and chicken. And we will be saying on the 23rd and the 24th and thereafter, it was the bread and chicken that won it for Mnangagwa. And if he knows what wins the election and he goes after that, and he wins that election because of bread and chicken and busing people to and forth, that is his strategy. That is what he's doing. And what is Chamisa doing to counter that? He's going to be speaking and saying, look at them. They are busing people. Yes, that's the politics of Zimbabwe. Don't expect it to be like America. Don't expect it to be like Sweden. Don't expect it to be like all these developed countries that you want Zimbabwe to be at par with. Not yet. We're not yet there. So the politics of our country, unfortunately, would be one on what is promised and what people are given to put in their stomachs immediately. So people would not worry about all this. People are talking about, look at the resources being looted. For a common person in Mazvikate or in Honde Valley or in Dande, they don't even know anything about what we're talking about when we talk about the gold mafia, that your resources are being stolen. They don't know anything about that. They would not even care to think that, okay, this gold that you're talking about that was stolen from me, when was it stolen? Who stole it? They have never even handled it. So they don't understand that. So this is why I'm saying the messages should be packaged to the understanding of the lowest of our people, the lowest common denominator in Zimbabwe, the weakest of our laymen in Zimbabwe in terms of understanding political situation and things. When you explain it, base it on trying to explain it so that that person understands. When you say that they are looting resources, do you think they understand what you're talking about? I'm not trying to be insultive here, but I'm saying the packaging of the message is being spoken of at a very high sort of intellectual wavelength that most people don't even see where and how these resources have been stolen from them. So when you say your lithium has been, people don't even know what lithium is, except those that are in areas where lithium is mined. They don't even know what lithium is. They don't even know what you're talking about when you're saying that we've been at this for a long time. The Marange diamonds. We were told the Marange diamonds were being stolen left, right, and center. We're told that 15 billion went missing. And nobody really understands how that was done. As long as that is not being broken down to the understanding of the lowest common man in Zimbabwe, nothing changes.
Okay, let me take this caller. Yes, caller, you can go ahead.
Okay, I was saying what is happening here is like when you are analyzing some of these statements these politicians mention, it's like it's something that you just extract from a series of events, a series of maybe utterances, or a series of rallies. You know, this thing of say, I'm not saying I'm pro Chamisa or whatever, but I'm just want to state facts as I'm hearing from what you are hearing there. Mr. Brilliant was saying it's not a good ideology to say Mr. Chamisa could say I will phone him, I'll pick up the phone and call Mr. Biden to say come and what. But I also followed that blueprint when Chamisa was presenting it. One, it's like he just said, it's like even before he said that, he was saying we are not sharing the same vision, meaning CCC and ZANU-PF. He also mentioned that ZANU-PF thinks the problem is sanctions, and we think that, like we as in CCC, think that sanctions are the symptoms. And there's another journalist also took that statement saying, Chamisa said sanctions are essential. You see how misleading some of these journalists do. Right on this one, taking a call to say Biden come what. He didn't he outlined that I will say Biden come and get the land. What he said is just you take a call and call Mr. Biden. But we don't know that is he saying Mr. Biden come and get the land, come and get the country, or what? Or he's saying let's do business where we benefit Zimbabwe and America as a 50-50 win-win situation, like somebody who is engaging with the international community for the development of the people of a certain country like Zimbabwe, our country, right? So even he was also this Mr. Brilliant. He was also saying it's better for Chamisa to say we manufacture lithium batteries and what in China do come and do what, and this one come and do what. But if you follow the rallies of Chamisa, he has been explaining and expressing all those ideologies. That's what he wants. He's emphasizing that we don't need our minerals to go out and process. We need beneficiation from our own country. Then we sell to them. He also he's also known by saying we want also things to be said made in Zimbabwe. Made in Zimbabwe. This made in Zimbabwe. Not everything made in Germany. Made in whatever country. He has been saying that. So I don't know here why we are clashing. It's just like also Mr. Mnangagwa, what he was saying on his rally yesterday. He was castigating Chamisa for calling Biden. But in that same breath, he was also saying, I went to China to get money to open those 7 and 8 generators in Uwangi. So you see how it is happening. So if we are putting an issue on the platform like what you are doing, let's exactly, pick an issue that then you relate with other events, because these guys, if they are on a rally or if they are expressing something on a public platform, maybe they won't go into details, into nitty-gritties of the point. Like what Mr. Ostalos once said, that if the president or if someone is expressing to the public like in a rally, it's in a poetic way. You see, so now you journalists, I don't know, I can't say you journalists, maybe you are not a journalist or what, maybe just have this platform to discuss.
No, Dr. Brilliant is a journalist. Dr. Brilliant is a professional journalist and an author,
Okay.
amongst other professions and expertise.
Okay. On platform like this now, just to pick a statement, then analyze along that one, it might be a bit misleading. Because maybe if you can just open on the, because Mr. Chamisa was saying, there were 5 points, there were 5 canopies. If we can take out that point on the calling of Biden to come to Zimbabwe, maybe if we take the blueprint and you highlight everything that is said on that point, maybe we can understand better. Because I understand that point is explained in that blueprint.
Okay, do you know what I'm gonna do, my brother?
I don't know whether
tomorrow I'll do another episode in which I'll play the entire press conference so that you can relate whether we are having this conversation or Dr. Brilliant has analyzed Chamisa's remarks out of context. But the issue of calling in Biden, from my own standpoint, my brother, the thing is, we have a track record of how America operates. We all know how the likes of all these European countries operate. You never bring these guys to the table and negotiate and say, we want something that benefits Africa.
Okay.
These guys, they come to take. They are not playing. And they know without Africa, they can't stand on their own.
But the silence.
I won't disagree with you there, and I won't agree with you there. What you are saying might be correct, but what we are saying, brother, we are talking about history, right? Mm-hmm. But we are also looking at a situation whereby these leaders who want to come in to lead Zimbabwe tomorrow, maybe they want to engage those same people, but on a different way of doing things. But maybe doing on the way of benefiting the country first before those guys. We are. I don't know now if you are saying we can't do with America, and I'm not saying let's do with America. I'm just discussing. Like you are saying, Americans are like this, are like that. Are you saying Zimbabwe can survive without international community?
No, the international community cannot survive without African countries. That's one thing you must know. Don't make it sound as if Africa needs the international community. One thing as African youth we must understand is Africa alone we have enough leverage to make all the Western countries, European countries, even Asia, to be on their knees, to be in business with us. So we need leaders that can communicate that message, leaders that can stand their ground and dig their heels deep in and put through those negotiations and don't become puppets that actually represent the interests of these Western countries.
Let me say this, brother. I know I've been listening to you, but let me say this to you. So we put it into context, right? So whatever it is that Chamisa said, what I'm trying to put across to you here is that one, let's not look at what Chamisa says and does at rallies and try and compare that with Mnangagwa. Remember, Mnangagwa is the incumbent. He has the resources at his disposal. So Chamisa is the one that has to carefully knit together and package his speeches and his material to win the hearts, not to try and be at par with Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa can afford to be clownish and to be whatever because he is the one being challenged to be removed. Chamisa is the one that wants to get in. Mnangagwa is already in. So when we say, well, Mnangagwa also did this, we can look at Mnangagwa's thing, but if he knows what his strategy is, the thing here is, when Chamisa says, we will then say our deal, the side of our deal is done, it's a bargain. No, what I'm trying to say to you is, Chamisa should not look, I said it before, that Chamisa should not look at himself as an African leader as being inferior to the white, that he will do what they say. He's the one picking up the phone to call them. Why don't they pick the phone up to call him? You see where we're trying to balance this thing, that the message that Chamisa is giving is that of subservience, is that of saying, I'm going to call the boss now. This is where I'm saying, in the general sense, when people look at it now, outside Zimbabwe and the Africans that are like Julius Malema, they're saying, look, This guy is not one of us. He is still trying to run to bus. Let him be saying, you, America, I respect you the way that you are, but respect me as a leader as well. So that when they speak from the same platform. He is not saying, I'm running to you, but he's saying, look, this is what I have. You come and get what I have from me. Because this is what Malema is pushing. This is what all the other. If I don't know if you looked at the Kenyan president, the recent summit that was there, when he was speaking to Macron, and how he leveled himself with Macron, and he was actually calling him Emmanuel. And yet you see all these other old Madalas, Omar Bongos, and the other ones that were there. They would still shake just to speak to that. But they're looking at him as if he's superior to them. Now, let's equalize this and say we are equal partners in this thing. Don't talk down on us as Africans, because we have an equal and as strong a voice as you have. When that starts to appear, and we start to see that we have confidence as Zimbabweans, we have confidence as Africans that we are not inferior. We are at par, if not better. This is the language that we want. Not you call, I'll pick up the phone and tell him it's okay now. No, he should call you. That's what my argument is. Like, this is where we need to be, not continuously say we need to call these guys to come and assist us. We are not looking for aid. We're looking for trade.
Okay, and I understand you there, my brother. Also, I'm not saying let's keep on disputing. I mean, arguing on this thing of saying I pick up a call and say this. But all I'm saying is I thought on my own opinion is that he was responding on the issue of sanction, because he highlighted the issue of sanctions. That's why he ended up doing this. Because after even if we are self-sustainable in whatever production we are doing, we need also to advertise our things out there. It's either by a call or by a media or by whatever means. So anyway, that one. And also this guy who was saying in Zarabani, they don't know spaghetti as a food. I also come from Zarabani, remember? And also remember when ZANU-PF went to Mandarwen. Mandarwen is almost Dande in Zarabani.
Yes, I come from that region.
Did you hear? Yeah?
I come from that region. This is why I'm saying they are celebrating traffic lights. So when they are celebrating traffic lights, the language, the packaging of the language needs to suit.
That's what I'm saying. Now they are celebrating what do you call it? A traffic light. And maybe that traffic light, they knew it, but they wanted it to their place.
But then did you hear what they're saying?
And also Chamisa,
children from school are traveling a trip. This is a school trip to go and see a traffic light. Now, if you go and start telling these people about spaghetti junctions, they don't know what you're talking about. This is what I'm trying to say, that in when you go to communicate, packaging a political message and trying to communicate a political message, you need to understand to who is the consumer of that message. So this is why I'm saying Chamisa needs to understand. Chamisa needs to understand that such utterances as I'll pick up the phone, those he needs to avoid those. There's another clip that I sent to Prof X. I sent a clip of an old one where Chamisa was on BBC. Where Chamisa was on BBC talking about Pataka Sangana na Trump. Those utterances, he needs to stop.
The rural area thing. What about Matura?
Matura, expand on that.
Matura, that is the agenda for the rural areas. For Triple C, modernization, and transformation of rural areas. Where you are saying we need each village to have a tractor so that it can help.
I don't know. Something's happening with Prof X's net connection.
Okay, no,
right. I didn't hear that because I think you bleeped out there.
Well, I was saying when he is in rural areas, he always preach about Matura. It's an agenda for rural areas, like as he said, modernization and transformation of rural areas, whereby he's talking about advancing a modern technology of plowing, like or farming, like putting a tractor on each village in the. He even say 58 districts in the rural areas, even not the balls, even carrying start roads. You will be communicating to the audience on the ground. But also when it comes also maybe to this thing of saying yes, forget that. He knows.
I don't know. Is the squeaky sound from your side or my side? I don't know what's happening with the connection now. Let me try. I don't know. There's a squeaky sound from your side, Dr. Brilliant.
Is it still on?
Can you talk? Yeah, no, it's gone now. No, it's still there. It's still there. Or you can rejoin. Let me take another call as we wait for Dr. Brilliant to come back. Hello, caller.
Hi.
Yes, brother.
Yes, I'm good. I'm good. Hey, I also want to comment on this issue about Africans. Quote from our leader, like Nelson Chamisa, when he proposing the phone call to Sleep Joe. Okay. African leaders are confused, brother. They are so confused. They are like a soccer team. We substitute Britain, and then we invite Chinese. Same problem we have in Niger. Like Brilliant tried to just get into that a little bit. Same problem we have in Niger. Kicking out the French and opening the arms to Russia, for example, the Wagner groups and so on. It shows that Africans are not capable of standing on our own feet. We don't stand the ground at our own. Look now, even in Zimbabwe, as our country, the state house itself, for example, it has been built with Chinese, not the Chinese, actually. The Chinese are actually designing that, and they're even putting their, their names, their letters on our, what we call, state house. Again, on the airport itself, it's designed by the Chinese. The Zimbabweans are not there, and the Africans are not there. It's just Chinese. We actually pursue their towards their ideology. We don't add anything on that. It's Chinese. So why not at our own capacity? Why don't we do these things at our own? We need African to develop its region. We need Africans to build. We need Africa or Africans to build Africa. You know, let us develop our Africa.
Okay, thank you, my brother. My people, this struggle is real. This struggle is very, 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 very real. I was following the Niger and the France battle, and this is what happened. It happened today. We have the U.S. Secretary of State of Foreign Affairs. Let me read through this article, how the Niger generals are responding to the Westerners. So here we have Victoria Nuland. Victoria Nuland is the white lady. She happens to be the USA Secretary of State for Political Affairs. Victoria Nuland. She arrived in Niger capital today and requested to see the detained former president Bazoum of Niger. And her request was denied by the military president. Following the, okay, let me bring in Dr. Brilliant here. Okay, Dr. Brilliant, I was going through this this post that you sent me of Victoria Nuland, the U.S. Secretary of State for Political Affairs, who went to Niger to try to have a dialogue, or who went to Niger to go and see the currently detained former president of Niger. So when he went to Niger to try to have access to the former president, this general that you see here, you see these men like this, they are representing Africa so well. Men like this, they are representing Africa so well. This happens to be the leader of the coup in Niger. He's the general, he's the commanding general who is in charge of the coup. And this particular lady here, who you see on the left of this picture, is Victoria Nuland, and she is the Secretary of State for Political Affairs for the US. She went there to Niger to try to find a way to see the former president of Niger. But the revolutionary government of Niger told this lady that you see here that you can't see the former president. So the revolutionary government of Niger has responded to the US, because the US had threatened Niger that if you do not allow us to see the former president, we are going to impose sanctions on Niger and cut all forms of trade with you guys. And this was the response from the government of Niger. And this is what we expect from all the African leaders who have the best interest for Africans. We cannot always be puppets. We cannot always be beggars to these Westerners or to Biden. The general here said to the US, we don't want your money. Use it to fund a weight loss program for Victoria Nuland. So these generals have told Biden to say, listen, you can cut your funds, you can cut your communications or your trade with us. We don't care about that. That money that you wanted to, to invest in our country, that money that you claim was supposed to be donations or an aid to Niger, use it to fund a weight loss program for this white lady here. This is the best way to treat these colonizers. This is the best way to treat Biden and his administration. We are not going to be begging them forever. We need African leaders that can make Americans understand or come to grips with the reality, with the new reality. We need these American and Westerners to start taking Africa serious and stop exploiting Africans and stop looking down upon African nationals. Because they look down upon us everywhere they go. When we are in America, they call us African American. When you just have this dark skin, to them you don't matter. So when are we going to restore our legacy? When, as black people or as Africans, are we going to stand up to these imperialists? When are we going to stand up and say no more taking us for a ride? When are we going to stand up and start protecting our natural resources? Because our children's children must benefit from these resources. And how are they going to benefit if we've allowed these Westerners to bully us? Because the current state in Niger, the main crisis behind this whole coup is because France, Niger has been exporting uranium to Europe, huge quantities of uranium to Europe. And they use this uranium in Europe for nuclear energy. They use this nuclear weapon for generating electricity. And the entire Europe is powered by the uranium that is coming from Niger. But when you look at Niger, we have so many communities in Niger that do not even have electricity, that do not have access to electricity. Yet they're exporting uranium to power European countries. That's why Niger now, the new commander-in-chief that is there, is saying, no, we need to renegotiate these terms. Something is wrong with these terms. We can't go on and on like this, where you are taking much from us and there's no development in our own nations. Why don't you build a nuclear plant in our country, a nuclear power station in our country? And before you export uranium to your own countries or take uranium from our country to your countries, build a nuclear power station in our own country. Make sure you supply electricity to all. the people in Niger. Because you can't just come and take from us and then go and empower your countries, generate kilowatt metric tons of electricity for your nations. Yet us, we are in darkness. So Africa has to wake up. Africa has to stand up, and Africa has to, defend their sovereignty. That's why allies like Russia and South Korea are also coming into picture today, because these countries like Russia, they are willing to build these nuclear power stations in Niger. They are willing to build these power stations that generate electricity in the domain countries where they will be getting raw materials or resources from. Unlike America, unlike Europe, they don't care, and they'll never even think of building a power station here in Africa. No, they just want the natural resources. They want the raw materials in their raw form, and then they will now start exporting the finished products at a higher cost. And at what point are Africans going to benefit from this entire trading system? Yes, Dr. Brilliant, you have something to say?
Yeah, you see, as long as we have people that would speak like in the tone that Chamisa is speaking, we are far from this. And I think people would think that I'm being hard on Chamisa, but I think it would be fair for you to just remind people.
Okay, there's a glitch on Dr. Brilliant.
I interrupted. Can you hear me now?
Can you come again?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I think whenever you receive a call, it will affect your signal. So you have to go out and come back again.
Right, I'll go out and come back again. But I want you to play to remind people, right? Because people might think we are being too harsh on Chamisa. But we're trying to set a tone, the tone here. There's a thing
we can't hear you clearly. Just log out and log in again. Okay, he was trying to suggest something. The Brilliant was trying to suggest something. Unfortunately, his connection was not proper. His connection was not so clear. Thank you very much for the good job, brother. Yeah, here's a platform where we exchange ideas, my people. So when you come here, you must have a thick skin. Don't come here with your tail between your legs and expect us to say only the things that you want to hear. No, we have to open a dialogue, and you share with us your ideas, what you think, and what you think is not right. Do not just be defensive for no reason, without valid points. So before we wrap up, let me just wait for Dr. Brilliant to come back again. I actually thought we were going to have less than an hour on this conversation, but I can see it can spark some sort of dialogue. I hope we're going to have another session again tomorrow, and we'll look deeper into these issues of elections as Zimbabwe is approaching their own elections. I think on the 23rd. So it's practically 7 days. Is it 14 days away? 2 weeks. 2 weeks away from the elections, from the electoral process, as Zimbabweans will be choosing their leader for the next 5 years. So the question is, who's the right leader to go for? Who's the right guy to select? And I'm not saying that I support Chamisa. I'm not saying that I support ED. All I just want is the best for Zimbabweans. All I just want is the best for Africans. We need a leader that can also exterminate these false prophets. That's my only issue with ED Mnangagwa. Yes, he has surrounded himself with all these clowns that claim to be hearing from God. He has surrounded himself with all these false prophets that have just been living at large because of their proximity with him, that have just continued with their criminal activities because they now feel like they are immune to prosecution. That's my biggest issue with ED. But he's a politician. Maybe it's a strategy for him to tap into the masses or to the followers of these so-called pulpit bandits. Seems like it's taking time for Dr. Brilliant to pitch, or maybe he's still having. Okay, he's back now. Are you back?
Yes.
Oh. Okay, are you set now? What were you saying? What were you suggesting before you left? Before we wrap up?
Right. I was saying that it would be a travesty if we don't go through and show where we are basing this from, where this stems from. When we say Chamisa has done it again, because there's a clip that did rounds not so long ago, when Chamisa was actually saying the same thing, that he met with Donald Trump. And it was not any other channel that exposed Chamisa. It was the BBC on Hard Talk, where they put him to task and asked him, did you really meet Donald Trump? Did he say he's going to give you 15 billion? Because these are the same things that I'm saying. Chamisa gets too excitable and he starts talking about things that do not exist. So this whole thing that I can pick up the call and talk to Biden, it might be the same thing that he said when it was Trump, that, when I met Trump, and he had never even met Trump. So to just put it into context, the type of leader that we do not want the Americans or the Westerners or the former colonizers to think that we are and we have is that sort of subservient leader that will just almost think that this is the way out. The way out is to allow these guys to control us. The reason why the Americans sent their secretary to go and try and see the deposed leader in Niger is because he's their puppet. They are still trying to get their puppet back onto the position that he was in. The reason why France wants to go and bomb Niger at the moment is to try and force the coup leaders in Niger to back down. They are threatening military force. But the trouble that is there is that ECOWAS, the Economic Community of Western African States, is standing with Niger, even the coup leaders today. That's where the trouble is for these Western governments, because the Africans are now beginning to open their eyes and are saying, no, we can't allow this. Let the Niger people free. Let them be. So this is the kind of stuff that we want. Because if you go back, just to put it into context, let's play that Chamisa thing where you are saying Pataga Sangana na Trump, and we'll explain that one.
What's happening today with Dr. Brilliant's connection? Okay, it seems to be having Dr. Brilliant. Can you reconnect, please? Can you reconnect before we wrap up? It seems like there are calls that are coming through from his end. That's about it, my people. I wouldn't want to keep you long here. I wouldn't want us to be on this political debate for long, but we'll have more of this discussion so that we can enlighten our people. I hope you guys are still okay wherever that you are. For now, honestly, I feel like there's an issue with Dr. Brilliant's connection here.
I think I'm back. I think I'm back now.
Is it solid now? Is your connection solid now?
It's solid. Yeah, it's solid. I had to restart the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me? Yeah. No, you're gone.
I'm also getting calls now. I don't know why I think called.
I think I need a separate phone now for this kind of thing, because I think these people know that, okay, he's about to say something now. Call him, disrupt this.
Okay, I'm only realizing that I had not put that video, the one of going to Donald Trump. I do not know how I misplaced it. I think I misplaced it with the one of Malema, so it's not in the studio.
All right.
But
then
that's
we'll come back
basically it.
Put context.
For this one, maybe we should just wrap it up for now, and then we'll continue it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Do you have any closing remarks to the conversation?
Yeah, let's promote peace in most African countries. It doesn't have to be African brother killing African brother because of what these imperialists are trying to put and impose on us. Because at the end of the day, they make us fight amongst ourselves. and the more we fight amongst ourselves. It's a simple strategy that has worked for years and years for them, the divide and rule. They've always done that. They will continue to do that. And I'll go back and say to those in South Africa today, we see the likes of John Van Housen, whatever his name is, the DA leader. The DA leader, and I'm putting this in context, the DA leader is saying that, is talking about this Kill the Boer song more than anything. What they are afraid of is not the Kill the Boer song. They're afraid of the organization, how organized EFF seems to be at the moment. So to try and derail that, this is what they're doing. What they will always do, the former colonizers will always do, is they do not want you to be organized. Once you are organized, you are now a threat to minority capital. You're now a threat. So now this is what it is with most of these guys that are trying to disrupt Africa and cause confusion and contention all over the planet or the continent, so that they can continue to loot. We had a situation in Zimbabwe. We all have heard about the gold mafia, but in context, whatever it is that has been looted through this gold mafia debacle is a drop in the ocean compared to what they were looting prior to this. The fact that now it's not them doing it, they want it exposed. But if we then go back and ask, who is mining our platinum in Zimbabwe? Which companies are mining platinum in Zimbabwe? Why is it that we don't hear about more of the platinum being looted in Zimbabwe? It's because of who owns the mines. So those that own the mine, if they're Australian, if they are European, there's not much of this talk of looting and plunder. If the Chinese get hold of it, we are told, oh, they are ripping your economy. But this is exactly what you guys did to us when you came and colonized us 100 years ago. This is exactly what you're doing. Now that somebody else is doing it, you are crying and making it look like it's such a bad thing. But this is the same thing that Niger is fighting. They're trying to remove the French. Now you're telling them that, oh yeah, we are the ones that can control you. You are using our money. Take your money. They can use Russian money, or they can come up with their own money. So this is the thing. But in all, it comes back to what we're talking about. The Zimbabwean election is coming up soon. I'm afraid to say it now, guys. Those of you that think Mnangagwa is not going to win, you need to, on the 24th, or on the 23rd, the 22nd, the 20th, eat very strong meals. Fill your stomachs up, because you're going to lose appetite, because Mnangagwa is winning. It's a foregone conclusion. Not that I support him, but that's reality. Reality on the ground is he is winning this election. Chamisa is going to be surprised, and he's going to dismally fail this one. That's just my political analysis. I would, if Chamisa wins the next general election in Zimbabwe, and I'm going to say it now. Are you listening, Profex?
I'm listening.
If Chamisa wins, I will cut my hair and eat it.
Oh, okay.
Do you want me to say it again? Do you want me to say it again very slowly?
Say it again,
if Chamisa wins this next election, that's how confident I am that Chamisa, the person that I would have preferred to win, is Chamisa, but he's not going to win. If he wins, I will cut these locks and eat them.
Live on this platform.
Live on this broadcast. He is not winning.
Okay, I need the details, because I believe your word is your bond. You're gonna cut your dreadlocks. Are you gonna eat them like that, or you're gonna boil them first?
No, I would have to eat them raw. I would have to chop them into small slices and swallow each lock. I'll cut this lock into maybe 16 whatever pieces. I will feed myself with this hair live here if Chamisa wins. That's how confident I am that he's not winning.
Someone is saying, don't curse him. HH won. Never say never.
No, it's not HH. HH was organized. HH, if you look at HH's campaign, his strategy, it was not all hidden like what Chamisa. The situation, the platform, the environment in which HH operated is very different from that of Zimbabwe. the environment in which HH put his structures together, the time that HH has had in politics, the way that he prepared and planned for this particular last election in Zambia, the one that he won. Look at what he had done, what he put, the team that he put around him, the presentation of his team, that this is going to be the chief of police, this is going to be this, they were already like a team, a football team that went onto the pitch and marked each man for man. They marked everyone that was in Lungu's government, men for men. So they knew that these guys, the HH guys, are ready to take over. Should they win tomorrow, we already know who this is. We already know who's going to take care of health department. We already know who's going to do this. With the Chamisa team, we're less than 14 days away from an election in Zimbabwe. We still don't know anybody. So who would we be voting for? Are we not just saying, let's cross the river and then find out when we cross the river? Because we're going to cross the river and we'll get there, but there's no one to be on the pitch to play this game. And the generals that are in Zimbabwe will just not, because remember, you can win an election and not get the power. It can happen that he can win. He's been claiming that he's been winning the popular vote, but he's not winning the power. Chamisa will not win. This time he's not going to win the popular vote and he's not going to win the power. If he does, trust me, if he does, I will cut my hair. I can even come to you and you can do the honors, cut the hair, put it in a plate and I'll eat it.
Okay, I want us to start this conversation on a clean slate tomorrow about the political strategies or the electoral practices that are best to be practiced, or how we can equip the youth in Zimbabwe who are going to vote in as far as to the extent of protecting their vote. Because we don't want one party to be crying foul that the election were rigged. And the reason why we have situations like that, like what you mentioned, Chamisa has no plan on how to put structures to educate his followers or to educate the popular voters of his to stand on the ground and defend their vote or make sure that favorable results come out. So let's have this conversation again tomorrow. And you had introduced the idea of how HH conquered, how he won because they had the proper structure.
Let me give highlighters of what we need to look at tomorrow. We're talking about HH. We're talking about structures, right? I believe and I think from my own analysis, from the views that I see in Zimbabwe, the opposition has a tendency to attack institutions and structures. HH won this election by respecting the institutions that are in Zambia and honoring the structure of governance that is in Zambia. When you start attacking, like we are seeing the CCC doing, when you start attacking the constitutional courts, the legislature as a whole in Zimbabwe, the legal structure of Zimbabwe, that the courts are rigged, this, already you are damaging an institution that you want to be on your side tomorrow. You are shooting it before you even cross the river. They should be praising and worshiping and, a way that they are going to honor these structures. The military, right now I see the language has changed a bit. They sort of say, we like to acknowledge the soldiers that are here. Murima soldier, Edu, you are our soldiers. You are our police. You are our nurses. You are our doctors. When you start putting all these people that you will need tomorrow and assigning them to your opponents and saying, Run, you've lost it and you won't win it.
Tomorrow will be an interesting conversation. Let me not allow you to preempt all the nuggets for tomorrow's episode. And I thank you today for coming through. Tomorrow, I think we should just run it under the theme, how HH won the elections and how can Chamisa win this election, because that's basically what the majority of people that are watching us here would want to see.
But then let's not deceive them. Let's say how HH won the last Zambian election and how Chamisa might win the next election. Not this 2023 one is done. It's done. How he's going to win the next one. if he changes,
No, the next one I'll be running. The next one I'll be running. The next one will be talking about me.
then he's not got a chance. So it's going to be the Raila Odinga. He's going to
If
be
he
the
does
Raila
not
Odinga
get it now, I'm taking over.
He's going to be the Raila Odinga of Zimbabwean politics. The one that was always opposition, the one that almost said, you know what, I almost won, I was rigged. And he'll go into retirement continuously saying, I almost won it, they rigged it, the electoral landscape needs to be made level. It will never. So let's get that right. Let's talk tomorrow, because right now I might be upsetting a lot of people, but it's the truth. And
yeah,
that's
tomorrow
what
we're not analyzing any speech of Chamisa. We are just looking at the political landscape. What needs to be done for one to win an election, and what one can do to win an election. So that is it, my brother. Thank you so much for this episode, and to those that joined us, thank you all. We'll check you again on the next episode of the Enlightenment series. For now, I, Mr. PDT, and Dr. Brilliant, we are out.